Hello, guys, and here we go. Another breakdown of what's going on in this world. Well, I don't even like to call it a world. It's artificial reality, right? We are literally in the Matrix, and that's where we are right now. So I'm gonna be breaking down this video this sister made, and just bear with me, because I'm gonna be calling some scriptures and things like that, and definitely want to lead in prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. This is our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses and forgive those who trespass against us. Deliver us from evil. Lead us not into temptation. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever and ever. Amen. To Yahweh Shai, the Messiah, our Savior, to Yahweh, our sovereign, belong glory, the majesty, dominion, and power, both of all times, now and ever. Let's all say hallelujah. Amen. I lead in prayer because this is a very difficult subject for me to go over. It's a very demeaning subject because what my people are going through, so-called blacks, Spanish, Native Americans, Mexicans, Latinos, and all Aboriginal people all around the world. We're being separated and castigated by a color-coded system, which was socio-economically created by, I think, Charles Darwin. So, yeah, we're going to get into it. This is Past Milano. Shout out to her. And also, hopefully she can forgive me because I might say some things about her. But I mean, hey, you're susceptible to criticism, as I am, and probably will be, as a result of saying some of the things I say. So I don't tell you to, you know, look at me as anybody great. Just do some research on what the things I'm saying. But anyway, let's get into it.
And it seems like this area, like going on Wall Street and all these other streets, I'm not from LA, I'm from Northern California. Why is it like all the black people are homeless in these ethnic tents? But like if you go to where Pico is and Santee Alley and all that, people from Mexico, like I've asked some of them, they're not even legal. And they're getting all this business and they're not even legal citizens. But look at the black people just on the streets in these tents. I want to show you guys this real fast.
Okay, let's stop it there. And let's get into some history of why this is right here. Okay, we're going to go into COINTELPRO. All right. And it says, a history to learn from. What was COINTELPRO? COINTELPRO was the FBI's secret program to undermine the popular upsurge which swept the country during the 1960s. Though the name stands for Counterintelligence Program, the targets were not enemy spies. The FBI set out to eliminate radical political opposition inside the U.S. when traditional modes of repression, exposure, blatant harassment, and prosecution for political crimes failed to counter the growing insurgency and even helped to fuel it. The Bureau took the law into its own hands and secretly used fraud and force to sabotage constitutionally protected political activity. Its method ranged far beyond surveillance and amounted to a domestic version of the covert action for which the CIA has become infamous throughout the world. Okay, so I'm going to break that down quickly. This is just basically any radical opposition to the U.S. government or to the status quo basically was met with harsh and let's say opposition. They were not having anyone let these so-called blacks come into rulership. And this is what it's all about, letting the so-called blacks come into rulership. Okay, so they understand that we are just as entitled to this land as anyone else. So when you understand that, then you definitely have to do something about it. And this is what this is about. Okay, let's continue here. It says, how do we know about it? COINTELPRO was discovered in March 1971 when secret files were removed from an FBI office and released to news media. Freedom of information requests, lawsuits, and former agents' public confessions deepened the exposure until a major scandal loomed. To control the damage and reestablish government legitimacy in the wake of Vietnam and Watergate, Congress and the courts compelled the FBI to reveal part of what it had done, and to promise it would not do it again. Much of what has been learned, and copies of some of the actual documents can be found in the readings listed at the back of this pamphlet. Okay, so this is basically, I'm just reading from a pamphlet I got here, but this is COINTELPRO, and this is breaking it down quickly. But there's a couple of books on it. John Potash's book, it's a great book on COINTELPRO. You want to check that out. Take a look into it, and he goes into the war on Tupac and black leaders, and it breaks it down beautifully. But this is just going to be a brief synopsis of what COINTELPRO is and how this relates to what these so-called blacks and why they on the street that they on and why that they can't do business. I'm just going to go into it real quick. So the FBI secretly instructed its field officers to propose schemes to misdirect, discredit, disrupt, and otherwise neutralize specific individuals and groups. Close coordination with local police and prosecutors was encouraged. Final authority rested with top FBI officials in Washington who demanded assurance that there is no possibility of embarrassment. So, this is basically telling you here that the government officials, the FBI, the CIA, and the federal are all into this. The federal government are all into this, are together. We have to stop talking about the Illuminati. Stop saying the Illuminati. It's the FBI, the CIA, and your local justice and police system. It's all coordinated to bring the so-called black man down, because they understand that the so-called black man has a rulership genetics embedded in him. All right. His DNA is opposed to what is going down in this world right now. And if we were to get into some type of leadership position, things would change. Okay. All right, but let's continue to watch this video because I'm getting into something deep here. Sorry about that.
Y'all make it to where you'll lock them up for doing the same thing the Mexicans is out there doing, selling clothes, selling knockoff, counterfeit makeup, and all types of crap, fruit for $5 a pop. But black people out here, and y'all, oh, well, these little girls are selling water, I need you to have a permit. Get this. All black people out here.
Okay, now, no offense to Paris Milan, but this is surface stuff. You know what I mean? She's talking about some surface things right now. So-called blacks and so-called Mexicans are oppressed, all right? It doesn't matter what color you are, all right? You know, it just so happens that the so-called blacks were born here, right, in America, and this is bondage, right? You know, as soon as you come out of the womb, you have a social security number. What is the social security number? Basically, your bond to the American government, all right? And you are a commodity or basically a stock, you know, option. You feel what I'm saying? So the so-called Mexican, the so-called black are not going through a different type of bondage. It just so happens that the so-called Mexican can come here and do some sales and, you know, go on the block, do their thing, and they're not getting bothered by the police. Okay, all right, big whoop. But at the same time, you know, ICE is able to gather their families, separate them, and take them over to the wall and do all types of things to them as well. You know, you have sometimes in some Mexican homes and impoverished homes, you got 3 or 4 families living in one building. You have lower wage jobs that they must work when they come over here, you know, basically getting paid cents on the dollar. But see, the thing that the difference between the so-called blacks and the so-called Mexicans, and the so-called Mexicans have been able to understand and institute a family-oriented type of way of living, and it's gotten them by. You know, the so-called Mexican loves his neighbor. The so-called black does not love his neighbor. So the so-called black has been able to be used, and the so-called white man has been able to use the envy and the hatred between the so-called black man to his brother and his sister. Because make no bones and mistakes about it, your so-called black female does not love herself either, nor does she love you. So that's another issue within itself as well. You feel what I'm saying? So we have a lot of elephants in the room in the so-called black community, and I'm one to expose it. I'm not going to sit here and not talk about it. I'm not going to sit here, point my camera at some tents and say, hey, why are these so-called blacks in this situation? It's because our people hate each other, and the only way that we're going to be able to solve this is to come back to the Ten Commandments. All right, and let me read some scriptures here real quick just to give a source to it. Now it says, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and thou shalt be no might in thine hand. This is Deuteronomy 28:32. It says, and this is Deuteronomy 28:48, I'm reading here. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. All right? So this is basically what's happening to us. You know, we are still in slavery and in bondage here. You know, why are we in this bondage? It's because not only that we have the governments and people conspiring to destroy us, but we also have these curses put upon us from the Most High because we broke the laws, commandments, statutes, and ordinances our forefathers did. So we have to pay for what our forefathers did, and that's what we're going through right now. This isn't happenstance. This isn't just because so-called blacks are dumb or they're ignorant. No, it's just because, you know, people around us understand what's going on, but we don't understand what's happening to ourselves. And until we wake up, then we're going to continue that. This is going to continue to happen to us. All right. Okay, so I want to get into this COINTELPRO too. So I'm going to be jumping from COINTELPRO to the scriptures as well. So bear with me, guys. And sorry about, you know, my misenunciation of words and things of that nature. You know, I'm not getting paid for this. So this is something I put together myself just to help the community, the Idmore, the Israel, and the so-called black, Native, Mexican, Hispanic, and all the Aboriginal people of the world, you know. So, you know, this is just coming from the heart. It's coming from the grip here. All right, so this is more information from COINTELPRO. And it says, all right, these are the three, what do you call this? The three subjects or the three main objectives of COINTELPRO. It says agents and informers, infiltration. Agents and informers did not merely spy on political activists. Their main function was to discredit and disrupt. Various means to this end are analyzed below. Number 2, other forms of deception. The FBI and police also waged psychological warfare from the outside through bogus publications, forged correspondence, anonymous letters, and telephone calls, and similar forms of deceit. 3, harassment, intimidation, and violence. Eviction, job loss, break-ins, vandalism, grand jury subpoenas, false arrests, frame-ups, and physical violence were threatened, instigated, or directly employed in an effort to frighten activists and disrupt their movements. Government agents either concealed their involvement or fabricated a legal pretext in the case of the Black and Native American movements. These assaults including outright political assassinations were so extensive and vicious that they amounted to terrorism on the part of the government. Oh my goodness. You guys hear that? Now just do your research if you don't believe. I mean, all right, do your research, do your due diligence. There's plenty of books on the subject. You know, I'm not going to cite any of the sources, but I definitely called the John Potash book. There's a couple of other books as well, but I can't think of them right now. But Professor Griffiths definitely has gone into some things. He's really good guy to look into if you want to get more information on the subject as well. But if you really break this thing down, every time the so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American tries to come together, there's always an infiltrator. There's always a government spy or someone to bring it down. We are not separated because of ourselves. You know what I mean? This is a government conspired thing. All right, you have to understand that. This isn't something that happened just yesterday. This has been going on, and I want to get one more thing to go along with this. See if I can get it real quick. Here we go. This is a good one. Let's go into it a little bit here. Psalms 2. It says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves rulers, take counsel together against the Lord and against the anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Okay, so these kings and rulers, the Pharaoh spirit, all right? This isn't a color. This isn't a caste, all right? You have to understand it's a spirit on these people, all right? All skin folk are not kinfolk. Some of these blacks are Canaanites, Africans, and, not to say all Africans aren't, special chosen people of God, which is Israel, and not to say that all Mexican Hispanics, and Native Americans or Aboriginal people aren't, Israel, but we have, some among us that look like us that, not only aren't our people, right? But you do have some people that are our people that will take on the spirit of a demon or an Esau or Edomite to benefit, right? To make that covenant and make money, So, I believe this lady who making this video is no different. Paris Milan, she's right. She's asleep as anybody else. All she sees things at a surface level. All right. This is very surface. Oh, the blacks aren't able to do business and the Mexicans are doing business selling counterfeit products and making money. These people are not rich. All right. These Mexicans that come over here and make their money are not rich. All right. They're making, 100,000, here and there, thousandaires. I mean, but you do have your Mexicans that are wealthy and that are doing good for themselves. Latinos as well that have land and are doing well for themselves as well. But make no mistake about it, these aren't billionaires. These people aren't billionaires. All right. So stop castigating and putting a trench about us, with this caste system, because you're doing the same thing so-called white man's doing. All right. Now, I do agree with Paris Milan in the sentiment that so-called blacks need to start learning how to love themselves and start hating their hair, their color, everything about themselves. All right. And a part of that is stop painting your face, you painting your face these colors, and, you getting these weaves in your hair and all that. Just grow your hair out. Why not? If you're so proud of being so-called black, right? Be proud of who you are. You don't need all these things to change your appearance and do all this extra stuff, right? This is all interrelated. Love thy neighbor. Love yourself, all right? So, once and until so-called blacks keep breaking that commandment, because that's a commandment. That's one of the 10 commandments. Basic. Then, we gonna see us out in these tents in the streets, begging for bread. The righteous have never had to beg for bread because we understand that we humble ourselves. We do what we must do. And we pray, we repent because we know that we're not perfect, and, a humble man can always provide and do what he can for his household. A humble woman is also, essential. But is this woman Paris Milan humble? I tell you right now, it doesn't appear so.
Sorry for the way. But just look, blacks sitting in the park, homeless. They got tents every freaking where. And all this black people in these tents.
Oh, sorry about that, guys.
So this is why that's happening here. Does look like Skid Row, but even Skid Row, like, or this is Skid Row? Well, even the Tenderloins in San Francisco don't even look this bad. They don't got all these effing tints.
So you see, she's like, wow, look how dire these people conditions are. All right, this is terrible. This is horrible. All right, but where's the solution? All right, we got to come to. We can't just point out, you know, and that's what's wrong with black consciousness, because it stops at the problem, right? And sorry for how long this video is, but it's got to be this long because I have to get into some meat here. But you know, that's the problem with so-called black consciousness. I mean, it's just another form of being asleep, because these people, we're kings, we're queens. We're above all people, and so-called blacks are supreme. Sorry about that. We deserve to be above all this jazz, and yet we're in the condition we are now. All right, we're not in rulership. People in homeless tents, and you know we're worse off than ever. So, consciousness is not using their intelligence to better so-called blacks. They're actually using their intelligence to funnel the money away from the so-called black man. You know what I mean? Okay, setting up, you know, let's say little education forums and things of that nature, and charging people to buy tickets and things and stuff like that. That's not really doing anything. You know, charging people and getting people together and you know, trying to build black economic businesses using your oppressor's money. You think you're going to get far doing that? No, you're in your oppressor's land. We are POWs, prisoners of war. All right, these people have taps on us. All right, you think you're going to be able to, you know, earn millions and millions of dollars and split it with your people and create, you know, a separate government in this American based racist institutionalized country? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? These people steal, colonize, rape, pillage the world, and you think that they're going to smile and wink at you while you build a business and economic growth within the so-called black community? Look at Nipsey Hussle, right? A lot of people think that wasn't real, but if it wasn't real, whatever. But the premise still is there. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey. Look, when are you going to realize that black economic business is not going to get you anywhere? All right? Because they understand who you are. They understand that you're a ruler, that you're a king. So they're going to smite the sheep, smite the shepherd, and they understand the sheep will scatter. All right? They're not stupid. But let me get into this real quick. Let me get the scripture real quick. It says, I'm going to start here at, I'm in Obadiah. And, I'm gonna get to the point. Let's get to. I'm gonna go to Obadiah 1 and 5. It says, "If thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? How are the things of Esau searched out? How are the heating things sought up? So these people steal till there's nothing left and then still take. Now, she's talking about Mexicans. Look, you understand in Mexico, these people are not getting, these people get paid on cents on the dollar. From the time that they work in their homelands to the time they come over here, these people get paid cents on the dollar, all right? You know, and if they're able to come over here and work on that land in California, all praise to the Most High in Christ. Because at the end of the day, California is a part of Mexico. That land was stolen, all right? All this land, we're on stolen land. So any opportunity that my people can strive and take advantage of the system, then all praises, all right? Because these people owe us money that they can't really account for. You know, banks are going to have to be empty. But anyway, let's get back into the scripture. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee, all right? And with thee have slack it. The border, it says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, that they eat thy bread, have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. So there's no understanding in these people, all right? All right? You know, and especially so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, Native Americans. I don't care what culture, race, or whatever you come from. When you unite with this man and his spirit, his demonic spirit, which is basically to take, and take some more, then there's no understanding in you. You understand? You know, the light has been replaced with darkness. All you can understand is to grow a business and become economically stable, you know, italics. Because look, what they can give you, they can take away. This government is not ours. We didn't establish this government. We got to understand this game, when this thing started, it was started off in the wrong way. And it's going to end in the wrong way. So we can't be a part of this. You know, we got to come together and help each other. You know, and if a business comes about that, or let's say we can make a little money together, all praises. But that's not really what we're really trying to strive for. We're really trying to strive to get out of this world, because this world has never been for us. But let's continue this.
Have like homeless shelters. I know they get filled up really fast, but they don't have always there. A lot of them are mentally ill. And it's like you guys don't have no facilities or institutions that you could have them committed to. But just look how filthy this is. When you go to Santee Alley, I'm going to show you guys how they're over there setting up shop and y'all don't say nothing about it. Hi, how much are the Julius Place pallets? Oh, yeah, that's okay. How much are the Julius Place pallet? Which one is it? This one, I guess. The new piece. No, this is not. Oh, okay. Just gracias. Okay, thank you.
Okay, as you can see, these people don't care. To tell you the truth, all they're really about is separation. You know what I mean? This is a bigger scheme to separate our people. You know, at the end of the day, you know, they give you a couple of what you call couple rewards. You know, and a lot of times we say, you know, we can build and learn and things that they can't take away. Look, bro, they can take it all away. if you can if you can buy it here in America, sorry about that, then it can be taken away. It's all an illusion, all right? But let me get back into this COINTELPRO. It says, who were the main targets? And I'm going to talk about these. This is some of the documents that had been opened. It says, ultimately, the FBI disclosed 6 counterintelligence programs. Communist Party USA, 1956 to 71. Groups seeking independence for Puerto Rico, 1960 through 71. Socialist Workers Party, 1961 through 71. White hate groups, 1964 through 71. Black nationalist hate groups, 1967 through 71. And the New Left, 1968 through 71. The latter operations hit anti-war student feminist groups. The Black nationalist option actually encompassed Martin Luther King and most of the civil rights and Black Power movements. The White Hate Program functioned mainly as a cover for covert aid to the KKK and similar right-wing vigilantes, who were given funds and information so as long as they confined their attacks to COINTELPRO targets. FBI documents also reveal covert action against the Native Americans. So, basically, these covert operations would go in, infiltrate, you know, groups, you know, such as the ones that I just called, and use them for a benefit, or if they wouldn't turn and use them in the way that they wanted them to be used, as far as dumbing the people down and taking advantage of people, then they will be destroyed from within. So, you know, let's say if one person didn't sell out, they'd get the next person to sell out, right? Which I mean by sell out is, you know, instead of helping the people and doing what you intended to do when you first established your business, then you go about doing other things, you feel what I'm saying, just to make it about making money and not giving charity back to your people. So that's basically what this is going into. I mean, in layman's terms, right? So this is deeper than just so-called blacks on the street and so-called Mexicans. You know, they're able to come over here and sell some counterfeit, you know, some counterfeit, what do you call it? Makeup. I mean, come on. You know, that money's going to be here today, gone tomorrow. You know what I mean? Okay, they better establish their little middle class and things of that nature, but, you know, and reproduce, you know, and that's another problem that they're having, that they're reproducing in such high volumes. All praises. But, you know, they're breaking up the homes with the ICE. You feel what I'm saying? So, you know, as soon as the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans start doing anything positive in their community, start reproducing, start doing anything great, they're always going to come with a counter to intercept that. So, I mean, if you look at COINTELPRO, it looks a lot like counter. You know what I mean? It's the same word, you know, so it's kind of COINTEL, you know, they're counterintelligence. You feel what I'm saying? They're going to go inside whatever you're trying to do, you know, if it be positive for your people, and they're going to destroy it. You know, that's basically, you know, what their purpose is. So this surface level stuff right here, you know, is all trickle down, you know, from our shepherds being destroyed, right? So-called black shepherds being destroyed. And sorry to say, but Paris Milan is a part of that, because Paris Milan is sitting here, driving through these neighborhoods and businesses, and also living by a caste system. You have to break away from the caste system. This is a socioeconomic experiment. It's not real. You learn this in college. You have to break the cycle. I mean, until you can come into the higher knowledge and realize you're Israel, then you are not doing anything revolutionary. All right? I'm going to tell you again, you are not doing anything revolutionary. You're not changing anything. Okay?
And they have some outfits and stuff here that you can actually get custom made. Come after for no discount. I just feel like the outfits and skirts combos are thinking like, look at that. I could just not like that.
Okay. Look at this female. You kidding me? Look at this female. Where's her husband? All right. She's out here jet setting, fake hair, fake makeup, fake nails. Who we really kidding here, man? How much money did you spend on all these things? But you're talking about consciousness. You're talking about awareness. All right. If we really want to change something, we have to start with ourselves. All right. Humbling ourselves. All right. I mean, this queendom, Ankh worship, you basically want to get all you can out of this life. This life is nothing but wickedness, vexation of spirit, and evil. And you want to get what your oppressor has? Do you know what your oppressor had to do to get where he is now? The scriptures say, envy thou not thy oppressor and choose none of his ways. Because when you talk about the wickedness this man has, he's painted the color of, the world calls Jesus Christ, other colors, to conquer and psychologically break the spirits of all Aboriginal, so-called Black American and Native American people all over the world. You know what I mean? That's what he has done to get where he has and to earn what he has earned. All right. So let me get into one more scripture here. It says, Leviticus 26:19, and I will break the pride of your power, and I will make your heaven as iron and your earth as brass. All right. So right now, the so-called Black man is going through trying and tribulations and the wickedness on every side. His own family's betraying him. Friends and family that you thought were friends and family, not really friends and family. This sister here is speaking of consciousness that you think she's trying to big up so-called Blacks. She's not doing anything for so-called Blacks. She's not. She's giving her little tidbit on something that she's feeling bad about. And I guess it breaks her heart that she sees her people on the street. Whoop-de-doo, okay? Good for you. How about you do something more, all right? How about you sacrifice all the things that you have, you feel what I'm saying? Get into these scriptures. Come back to the Most High in Christ. Start living your life and for righteousness, not for wickedness. You know what I mean? Get you a righteous man and build with the husband and make a so-called Black family, right? Stop purchasing these makeup products and all that stuff. I mean, now I'm not going to say there's nothing wrong with makeup per se, but, that comes with a spirit, right? You know what I mean? You got when you put that thing on, you know, it's a distraction. You know, our people don't need to be distracted. We're in a war right now, right? This is spiritual warfare. You know, you're getting done up, you're getting fake hair, you're getting fake nails, you're getting I mean, all this money could be going to fund our people waking up and coming back into the knowledge of themselves. Because right now, this caste system has never been for us. And if we're going to change something, it's going to have to be on the grassroots. All right. And you can tell by the way she's living. This is not grassroots.
Like that, like being here as an adult is like a far-fetched from being in LA as a child because you're more aware of like your environment, and especially me, like I obviously have a social awareness channel, and so I'm more heightened to situations like this that I observed today more than the average person, I believe. You guys have supported me in doing this, especially like my sponsors. Thank you so much to Car Marshall. Over 100,000 cars in inventory while you shop, they will negotiate for you. Also, thank you to ashchicken.com. They have all your personal hygiene related needs. Please go and support straightblacklove.com if you are trying to find other black singles in your area. They will hook you up. And also go to Soulfully Center. They are a black owned hair care line. They have an online store for you to go and purchase some affordable, potent hair care products. And they also have a store that I'll be showing you the picture of with the address. So anyways, I'm in LA, and as we were driving to this restaurant, on our way,
okay, so
we're on a street.
Okay, so so-called blacks aren't all poor and in destitute situations. She just named a couple of black-owned businesses and resources that you can go to as well. So let's not make this about a caste or a color, all right? Because at the end of the day, the so-called Mexican and Latinos have their plight as well. The only difference between them and us is that we haven't completely broke away from the American dream, and that the American dream has always been an American nightmare. So to us, you know, from our so-called white brother counterpart, which I'm gonna go ahead and say is a satanic devil and demonic worshiper for the most part. You know, I'm not gonna say 100%, but for the most part, it's a high number. You know what I mean? So I'm not one of those guys that are out here searching for that one good white person. All right, I could care less. I'm trying to unite, build, and love my people, get my people back right. You know, and you know my journey has been difficult, and I'm not gonna say that I'm perfect, but you know I'm doing my best. I'm trying. You know, may the Lord forgive all my sins and all the things that I do wrong out here. But you know, at the end of the day, I'm trying to unite. I'm trying to get our people back right, and it's difficult because out at every corner, the so-called white man is waiting with his gun and his badge to do his dirt, right? But, you know, Psalms 23, I don't fear any man.
Street, and I think the cross street was like 5th Street. And then I'm looking to the left, and I'm like noticing all these different tents, and I'm seeing the tents, they're just everywhere. And I'm like, well, it's not raining. I know it's kind of cold today, but it's not raining. What the freak is going on with all these tents? So I start looking a little bit closer at the tents, and I'm noticing that a lot of the occupants of the tents were black people. A lot of the people walking around in this area, which look very, very run down, you can tell it's a very impoverished area, and a lot of the dwellers and the people hanging out and kind of just looking listlessly are the black people. So I start filming because I'm just in like disbelief. So in Northern California, we have our tenderloins, and even in the tenderloin, you don't see tent after tent after tent after tent completely stacked up, just row after row, just tents everywhere. Of course, you have the trash and stuff like that, but it's a diverse group of races in the tenderloins that you see that are strung out on the drugs or whatever. But in this particular area, it's nothing but black people just up and down the street. When you go a couple of blocks over, there is a area that they call the Fashion District. Other people call it the Santee Alley. They call it the alleys, whatever you want to call it. And it's flooded with self-identified Mexicans. I want to say that because some of y'all are going to be in the comment section like, oh, Mexican is not a race. I've said that plenty of times. When you ask these people, like, where are you? Where are you from? Where do you consider yourself? They call themselves Mexican. Now, these are mestizos, the Aztec, the Latinos, whatever you want to call them. They have shop set up completely cover up the block. They've monopolized the entire market down there in that underground commerce is what I like to call it. It's like this underground shopping area that has counterfeit purses. They have jeans, clothing, jewelry, any item that you could ever want, even fruit is effing discounted, okay? Like, they get you some watermelon, pineapple, chop it up, $5 a pop. Everything there is like completely discounted. And this is the problem that I have with it, is a lot of these people are not legally here. They're not legal citizens of the United States. Now, some of you guys in the Black community have been brainwashed into believing that we have to be on the front lines defending illegal immigrants, aliens. We have to be the ones that support them in their fight to get legal documentation.
Let me stop you there. Paris Milan, what are you doing to fight for your so-called black man? Where's your so-called black man in this video? Where is your call out of the justice system, against so-called black men? Are there any talks of us getting paid less than not only our so-called black women counterparts, but our so-called white men counterparts? What are we doing within our community to make it better? But you're saying to separate from our brother, the Mexicans, the Latinos, and don't help them. But what are you doing to help your own? All right. Now, I agree with you to a certain extent. Now, yeah, we do have to start working within each other. But that means that you have to submit yourself to a so-called strong black man. Is that going to happen? Are you going to be submissive instead of an independent black woman, so-called being funded by the government and being helped and programmed to fight against your so-called black man and just see him as a nigga, right? Are these things you're willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice the life of luxury, right, to be and to stay and live under the Most High's laws, commandments, statutes, and ordinances, and come back to the Most High in Christ, right? Are you willing to do these things? So we got to ask ourselves these questions as so-called black people, because everything else hasn't worked. Black economics, so-called black economics. Trying to go back to Africa. You had your greats that led, us to social awareness and consciousness, such as your Marcus Garveys, Malcolm X's, and your Martin Luther King Jr.'s, which I don't like to really name because he definitely was an agent, a sellout, which was under the Boule programming. Martin Luther, which was a known, it's not his real name. When you do your research on Martin Luther, that was a Roman Catholic priest, right? So what does that say about Martin Luther King Jr.? We all know the history of the Roman Catholics, some of the most wicked, evil, conspiring people in the world, right? To this day, they're still destroying little boys' minds, right? Raping them, right? These are questions we got to ask. These are things we got to talk about, because it's all interrelated. When you have bad leadership and the shepherds that are getting killed, which are really trying to change things in their communities, you're going to have this. You're going to have so-called blacks on the street, begging for bread, right? You have your so-called Mexicans coming over here in America, selling things. They're making money a little bit, but it's not anything significant. Come on. They're not making significant money. These people aren't becoming billionaires, trillionaires. I mean, you might have a couple millionaires here and there. All right. But, the so-called Mexican is some of the most humble, beautiful people you'll ever meet. Latinos? Oh, man. You're talking about 3 or 4 families living in one house sometimes, right? And when they came over here, man, they would walk and walk and walk. But they built and built and built. And look at where they are now. And you're going to hate on them? Oh, no. I tell you right now, I'll congratulate them. Good for you guys. When is the so-called black man and black women going to step up and do the same? They're going to humble themselves and come together and love each other under the laws, commandments, statutes, and ordinances in the Most High in Christ. When are we going to learn that keeping up with the Joneses is what we were never meant or made to be? We were made to worship the Most High in Christ. That's what we were made to do.
Separate out the borders with their kids. Black people, I'm here to tell you that is not your fight. And let me explain to you why that's not your fight. Like I told you guys before, in those streets that are a couple blocks over from Santiago, where it's flooded with the Hispanic and the Latinas, or whatever you want to call them, and these aren't black Latinos and Hispanic. Those are the ones that are over there making thousands of dollars hand over fist, and they're not reaching out to the black homeless people over there, trying to give them a place to stay, trying to give them an underhand job where they can sweep or they can just hold up signs or whatever. They're not employing any of them. So that tells me that when you hear Trump talking about building the wall, that is not the black fight. That is for them to deal with. The attitudes that they have with some of us as black people is disgusting. Like, you would think that they're honorary white supremacists. Some of them are cool. Okay, I'll give them some of that. But ultimately, when the time comes for them to unify, they unify with one another. And
let me ask you a question. Why would someone unify with the people that don't unify within themselves? Why would a people not deal with a people who destroy themselves as we do, who will sell out each other for change on a dollar? Why would you want to deal with Judas Iscariot? We got a lot of Judas Iscariots within the so-called black community. We got to deal with that. It's the truth. So when other nations deal with us in a certain way and treat us in that like we're ignorant, it's because a lot of us are ignorant, and I understand that. The so-called black men are holding their heads up high, walking the streets in a manner that you can respect for the most part, a lot of times. And when you try to tell them any truth and you talk about reading and bettering yourself, the first thing they think about is, a green piece of paper with some dead white men on it. Dead slave owners. Excuse me. Hold on one second.